So anyway, yeah. What is Peanuts on Parade? Obviously, Schulz was from Santa Rosa, California, or he spent most of his life in Santa Rosa, California. But he was born in Minneapolis and spent most of his growing up years in St. Paul. And so when he announced his retirement, the mayor at the time wanted to do something to recognize the hometown hero. Obviously, you've got the most successful comic strip ever created, and so they wanted to do something to commemorate his success. By the time that they kind of figured out exactly what they were going to do, obviously his health had already started to go downhill, and he was unable to see the final product of what they were going to do, but he knew what was going to be done. They kind of talked about, they wanted to make sure everything was based on his approval, and so they kicked around like statues and things like that, and he didn't want any statues of himself. Of course, just the kind of guy that he was, and he wanted to focus on the characters. And so again, back in 1998, Zurich had a project called Cows on Parade, and so it was all cows that were painted and decorated by local artists and scattered around the city. And that actually became a real popular attraction. And then there was somebody that was actually from Chicago that went to Zurich, saw these statues, brought the idea to Chicago. So eventually you ended up with Chicago's Cows on Parade. And this was mainly in 1999 is when they actually got started. So after that, they kind of molded the whole idea into the tribute for Charles Schulz, and then they were just going to take it 1 year. You know, they had no plans to do it anything more than just a single year, and it started out at like 50 statues. They had people go crazy over this idea, and they wanted people to to have each individual statue decorated by local artists, sponsored by businesses and stuff around town. And next thing you know, it boomed. And so just one thing led to another, and eventually after by the middle of the summer, they had over 100 statues. People were going crazy over it. The popularity became they got publicity from all over the world, even especially like a lot of local and national news, and then it just kind of snowballed and kept going from year to year, and they really didn't know exactly what they were going to do from year to year, but obviously, you know, like I say, from 2000 they started with Snoopy. 2001 they did Charlie Brown. 2002 they had Lucy, and 2003 they had the Linus statues, and then on 2004 they had the dog houses with Snoopy and Woodstock on top. From there they went to Craig Schulz then brought it to Santa Rosa, brought the whole idea to Santa Rosa, and the whole thing started all over again for 3 straight years there until their 2005, 6, and 7, and finally in 2010 they had what they called an encore year, and they did Lucy statues. That was it was kind of just what Craig called a give back year, because they had so much success with the project, with the publicity, with the auctions. They really wanted to give back to the community, and so they created 32 Lucy statues for the sole purpose of having them scattered around the city on permanent display, so then that way when people went around the city and found each of the statues, they got a really good idea of what the city was like. They got to see all the different landmarks and whatnot. So great idea. So if you're ever in either in St. Paul or Santa Rosa, California, there are lots of statues around that can still be found to this day, and the books have kind of the last known location for each one that you can find throughout the books. So the just I kind of touched on the popularity of what Peanuts on Parade did, not just for Peanuts in general, but it started a landslide of cities all around the world that created their own little public art projects. And so you had anything from like sunflowers in Arizona and all kinds of different things. And so I actually thought it was kind of cool that some of these extra books that came out throughout the years, most of these were done by like the local universities or the cities themselves. They put together you know, just different books on their art projects. So you can see like Large Fish was in Richmond. You got Mastodons. There was all kinds of different types of projects. There's horses, and so I mean, there are just literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these projects that popped up all over the world, and most of it can be credited by the popularity of Peanuts on Parade, just because of the publicity that they got for it. So then the other thing is, most people started asking me about how I got involved. And I guess I like to say that the biggest thing for me is that I just tended to be in the right place at the right time, and kind of stuck my nose where it didn't belong. In 2001, the second year of Peanuts on Parade, I heard that they had openings to volunteer. At the Mall of America, they had a one-week celebration leading up to the auction. So like during the summer, during each summer, they would focus on the statues, and then at the end of the summer, they had a large auction that raised money for the permanent bronze statues that are still in downtown St. Paul, as well as art scholarship funds in Charles Schulz's name at 2 different art schools in St. Paul. And so when the volunteer word came out and I heard about that, I had to get involved. And so I just found my way down and just kind of got into the mix, and became a volunteer down at the Mall of America. And I think the first year I was doing, actually I got set up at the station for that talked about the Charles Schulz Museum that was going to be built, and opening up the next year, actually. So I kind of got it. That was really the first word that I even heard about it. But because I wanted to absorb everything that I could and learn as much as I could about it, when I got to the station and they had some brochures and stuff sitting around the tables, I was reading everything. They had some things posted up on walls, and so I was just reading everything that I possibly could about the museum. And obviously I thought it was cool, that it was great that they were going to be opening up this museum, but I was working down there the whole day, and so I wanted to give people the information of what was going to be happening down there. Even though at the time when I started out, I really didn't even know what I was doing. But it was kind of funny. By the end of the day, I had a few people that just assumed that I was representing the museum itself, and then I came in for it because I knew so much about it so quickly, and just like I said, I was just absorbing every bit of information that I could. And so that got me going on the volunteering, and then I did the same thing again in 2002. And then I helped out at the auction itself, and a few different days where I went down there and got involved with different things, whatever they wanted to put me at, I was willing to do. And then really in 2002, when the Linus statues hit, it was 2003, the Linus statues were featured in St. Paul, and Linus Maurer, the namesake of the Linus character and Charles Schulz's friend, actually came down to the paint-off and unveiled his statue that he created and designed, called Stars and Stripes. and it was Linus all dressed up in red, white, and blue with a flag and everything, and that was my first chance to meet him. And then summer went on. Obviously, I got the photographs that I made sure that I got the photographs each year, and when I heard he was going to be coming back at the end of the summer for the auction, I quickly threw together a photo album with all the pictures of the statues of Linus, and I just thought if anybody should have that, it should be him. So I was able to track him down and give it to him, and the surprise came when he was looking through it. He asked me if I had my name and phone number written in the photo album somewhere, because he wanted to take a little bit more time to go through everything and then thank me later. Of course, I didn't put anything of that in there, but he insisted, and so I just, William Johnson, gave him my phone number, and kind of forgot about it. I didn't think anything more of it at that time, until about 2 weeks later. All of a sudden, he calls me up, and we chatted for like 45 minutes, and that started a friendship, and became good friends with him. And every time we went to California, he we spent a full day together, and he just became a good friend. And obviously, I still miss him. So, but anyway, like I said, if anybody should have those pictures, it should be him. So I just thought that was, it made sense to give him that photo album. So then the following year, in 2004, when the last year came around, I kind of took that same idea, and I met Charles Schulz for the first time. And she was down at the Mall of America, signing autographs and with Amy Schulz Johnson, and I gave him the photo albums of all the pictures and stuff of what that I had been taking through the years, and asked a stupid question and just said, hey, does the family or the museum have pictures of all the statues? And I look back on it now, and I'm just like, of course they do. Why wouldn't they? But it was actually became a little surprise. She said that they did not. And so, because I had pictures of all the statues, I volunteered to put together a photo album for them, and make sure that they had pictures of all the statues from all 5 years. About 2-3 days later, I heard that she'd already even talked to someone in the archive department at the museum, and they were excited about getting the pictures. So at that point, gears started going, and I'm like, okay, I got to give them something better than just pictures. And I took some of the contacts that I had from the years that I was volunteering, and just made some phone calls. Wanted to find out if there was any way that I could get a hold of some of the artists and get some information about each statue. Just any kind of trivia, any kind of tidbits, any kind of story behind the design, their inspiration, anything like that. Whatever they wanted to give me was fine. I just wanted to start seeing if I could get some people to give me some information. Lo and behold, I received a spreadsheet that had hundreds of artists' names and phone numbers and emails. And so I just started going down the list one at a time, getting a hold of every single person that I possibly could contact. Some of the information, the contact information had expired, and it had, either they'd moved or changed their phone number or whatever. But I got a hold of as many as I could, and that's really where you can kind of see one of the differences between the two volumes of the books. I didn't start writing anything until the end of 2004, when they were done in St. Paul. There was a lot of backtracking, a lot of people that were obviously unable to be contacted, Some people were kind of done with the project and didn't want much to do with it anymore. But that really wasn't the case for most people. Most people were just so happy to be involved with the project to begin with. They thanked me for being part of it, and part of just wanted me to, if there was any way that I could relay the message on to the Schulz family, that they were just so happy to be involved. And it was just, you could tell for so many people that it was an experience of a lifetime. And that's what was so cool about getting this information and gathering it together and realizing that this wasn't just something that, for the fans. That, the fans could go around and get pictures and create their scrapbooks and spend a lot of time, family time together with their kids and all that, doing, getting all these statues, and getting pictures and whatnot. But just the pride that so many artists took in being involved with this, you could tell that was just, they were just so happy to be asked about their statue again, and asked about what it took to create the statue, and what the inspiration was, because there's so many cool stories behind them that some are they're personal, they're funny, they're inspirational, they're just comical stuff. I mean, there's every angle that you could possibly think of. There's there's a story for it in pretty much every category. So that's really when I wanted to make sure I picked it up and continued to do the same thing in Santa Rosa. So my wife and I went out there probably at least once a year. Most of the time we were out there twice for the paint off, as well as the during the summer to get the pictures, while they were on the streets. And I was able to get those interviews done while they were actually happening. And so you might notice with Volume 1, there's more statues, but maybe not quite as much information about each one. A lot of times, like I say, it was a lot of backtracking, a lot of people that I couldn't get a hold of, whatever. But if I didn't get a hold of the artist, a lot of times I got a hold of the sponsors, and so I got the stories from that perspective. And then, but like I say, then with Santa Rosa, they didn't really have as many statues each year, either on a year-by-year basis, or even just overall through the years. But there's more information about each one. So there's a lot of information that I almost had to just delete and not include, because sometimes I'd be talking to these artists for a half an hour, 45 minutes at a time, and they just keep giving me all this information. It's like, okay, this is all great. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to use, and what's what's going to make the best stories, what's going to make the best information, the most interesting stuff. So that's kind of where you'll see. So why don't we do that? Why don't we get into the Volume 1? I'm sure a lot of you people out there already have this copy. It's been out for about a month and a half or so, give or take. But this is the St. Paul years, and so it starts off with the normal introduction type stuff. The forward. This forward for Volume 1 was written by Stan Pawlowski. So a lot of people don't know his name necessarily, but if you're a Peanuts fan, I can pretty much assure that you know his work. He's the one that created the Charles M. Schulz Award. It's a bronze statue that's given out for excellence in animation and cartooning. He also created the marble bench that's over on at Charles Schulz's gravesite. And then if you've ever been to Santa Rosa, the Charlie Brown and Snoopy statue that's right in the heart of downtown Santa Rosa, he's the one that created that, and that was unveiled 2002. 2001, 2002. But anyway, so Stan was wonderful enough to, if you ever had a chance to talk to him, he is one of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. He's done so much work with Disney and with Peanuts and stuff like that, and he's got a history and a story that's just it's second to none. So then each year has a introduction that talks about each year, that specific year, and so it'll have the full description of how they came up with the idea to do each design, or, focus on which character they were going to focus on each year. Obviously, they start out with Snoopy, and it kind of goes through the whole process of the fact that they really didn't know they were going to do another year beyond just the first year. It really wasn't until the very end of the summer that they realized they were going to have to do a second year because of the popularity of it. But until then, it was all set to be just a one-year deal. So then you can see we've got all kinds of all the statues. Every official statue is in here. There have been a lot that have been redesigned, totally even stripped down, completely redesigned and stuff, but those aren't necessarily the official statues. Because once the end of the summer rolled around, owners were able to do whatever they wanted with them. I heard about one person that had a statue that used it as a towel rack in their bathroom. I've seen them in living rooms, I've seen them in front yards and backyards, at businesses. They're all over the place. They can do whatever they want with them. They can move them, and they're free to do whatever they want with them. So sometimes, even though during the summers they weren't able to be very specific when it came to how it pertained to their business, they had to make sure that they followed certain guidelines in advertising and whatnot. But after the summer, like I say, they were able to do whatever they wanted with them. So this is the complete set of every statue that was ever created, as far as the official statues go. There are a few scattered redesigns in here, late commissioned statues, whatnot, but mostly I wanted to make sure that it kind of takes you back in time. When you go through the book, you can get an idea of how things were laid out and how things were set up each year as it went on, as the project went on. So then, like I say, you got every year, 5 years, 2000 to 2004 for St. Paul. And actually one of my favorite sections in the book, towards the tail end of the book, actually is a section for the bronze statues. If you have a chance to come down to St. Paul, they're still down there. They're in Landmark Center and Rice Park. They're adjacent parks right in downtown St. Paul. And there's 5 different bronze statues that are still down there. And Tivoli 2, the company that created all of the blanks, they created the bronze statues as well. And they're specially designed and meticulously created so that there are no little nooks and crannies for kids as they're climbing on them to get their fingers stuck. They don't get too cold in the winter. They don't get too hot in the summer. They're wonderful pieces of art and set for permanent display in St. Paul. And then another section is there's some statues, because Schulz was so popular in this area. There are statues that weren't part of Peanuts on Parade, but they're out there. There's one at a college that is made of it's a little different fiberglass, and it's something that it's a line of statue that they commissioned to represent the college. There's another bronze statue that talks about the Italian heritage in St. Paul and how the Italians helped settle the city. One of the main people who kick-started or spearheaded additional statues in the first year. Because remember, if I said earlier that they were only going to start with about 50 statues or so, and then they eventually moved up to about 75, and then they were going to cut it off at that point. The owner of Mancini's restaurant, it's a popular Italian restaurant in downtown St. Paul, he spearheaded the desire to create more statues because he hadn't gotten involved yet, and he knew other business owners that wanted involved as well. And so he actually, a couple years in 2002, he commissioned a bronze statue of Charlie Brown and Snoopy to honor the Italian settlers of St. Paul and developers of the city. So that one is right here. And then in 2014, the Minnesota Twins hosted the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. And so they had several statues of the Peanuts gang in baseball uniforms. And so these statues here are really, they're usually down by Target Field where the Minnesota Twins play. But every once in a while they move them around too, so they're not always available and visible, but they are out there. And then finally the index. I put an index in there that is separated by artists, by statue name, and by sponsors. So everything is really easy to see in there. Okay. And then in volume 2, okay, getting my information here. So we'll wrap this up here. But one thing I do want to say too, though, that stay tuned very soon for. I do have a special announcement before I get into the book signings. That is something that's going to be something that I've been waiting to announce for quite a while. So anyway, in book 2 we have kind of the same thing, but instead of obviously the St. Paul statues, you have all of these Santa Rosa statues. In 2005 they had Charlie Brown. 2006 they did Woodstock. 2007 they did Snoopy as Joe Cool, and then they skipped a couple years. They thought they were going to kind of be done, but in 2010 that's when Craig Schulz wanted to do that give back year, or that encore year, or whatever you want to call it, and he created 32 Lucy statues that were designed specifically to be around Santa Rosa, and so you could see the city as you did your scavenger hunt around the city. And then what's probably what makes this book a little bit more distinct and kind of wraps everything up is at the very end I not only have the bronze statues that were not only the Stan Pulowski statue, but also a couple other bronze statues that are in Santa Rosa. But then one of my favorite sections is what I call reflections, and it's just basically a 1 to 2 paragraph section on the main people that were involved. So you got Jeannie Schulz, Craig Schulz, Norm Coleman was the mayor of St. Paul when this whole thing got started. The main people from Tivoli 2. Tivoli was the company that actually created all the blank statues in both cities, and so they really just I wanted to give them the chance to reflect back on their time and their responsibilities and the way that they participated in the project, and just was hoping that they would just kind of give an idea of just what they did and what the project meant to them. And so that's in the back of volume 2. And again, kind of the same index as far as breaking everything down from statue name, artist, and sponsor. And again, like I said, probably the biggest thing is going to be that there's more. There tends to be more information about each statue in volume 2 than volume 1. just because I was able to write it in real time. There's a lot of interviews that was, that I did pretty much every single year. I was able to interview everybody that was involved. Whereas in St. Paul, there's a lot of backtracking, but there's more statues in there. So there's, overall, Volume 1 is actually thicker than Volume 2. But they're both very unique in their own aspect. But like I say, hopefully, my goal was that when you have the two books, you can basically step back in time and go through the project year by year and follow along and understand what it took to go from year to year. All the different organizations that were part of the steering committee, the people that were involved, the decision makers, they were all involved with it in such a dramatic way, and they all had their own say in how things went. And it's really interesting to see the process that it took to go from year to year, and then from even from one city to the next. So that's all laid out within like the introductions of each year, so you can get an idea of how things went from year to year. So I mentioned a few minutes ago the special announcement. If you've been to the website, my website, wjshistory.com, you might have noticed that there are proceeds from every sale that I do in any of these books that are going to go to Canine Companions for Independence. It's a wonderful organization that trains dogs on how to be companion dogs for adults and children of veterans, disabled, and people like that need that help and then assistance. And so Charles Schulz is actually on the board for the Santa Rosa location, and so just kind of a give back to them and a shout out to them, because they're such a great organization. Who doesn't like dogs to begin with? and then also, just knowing that they're there to help the veterans and disabled and both adults and children alike. So with that in mind, not just the small portion, I've taken a few separate books and I'm getting them signed by as many people as I possibly can. Anybody that's mentioned in the book at all, whether there's artists, sponsors, the Schulz family, celebrities, whatever. They're all, I'm trying to get as many signatures in there as I can. And around Beagle Fest in 2022, which is going to be in Santa Rosa, to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Charles Schulz Museum opening, I'm going to auction off the charity books, and the number one will be, like I say, the one that I'm accumulating the most signatures in is going to go to Canine Companions. And so like I say, that'll be a one-of-a-kind book with the most signatures out of any other book out there. And it's gonna, like I say, it's gonna be both representing both volumes. And so I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do it quite yet, but I want to make sure that as many people get involved with the auction as possible. So keep your eye on the website and the Peanuts on Parade HQ page and everything, and I'll keep that up to date. And so this charity book, like I say, is going to be going to the more signatures that I have in there. I figure the more it's going to raise, and the more people that are involved in the auction and bidding on this thing, is the more money that can be raised for CCI. So that's kind of the main charity that I'm working towards and getting money for. And like I say, in the summer of 2022 will be kind of that epitome where I've got as many signatures in there as possible, and then we're going to do the auction and let's raise some money for CCI. The other foundation that I'm involved with too, is I've been connected with Anne Bancroft. If you know who she is, she's the polar explorer. She was the first woman to reach the North Pole. She was 1997 Ms. Magazine's Woman of the Year. In 1995, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. And so her foundation is geared towards girls. On their website it says, empowers girls to imagine something bigger and helps them reach their full potential. And so I've already talked to Anna a few times, and every year she has a charity, a foundation charity event, and raises money for the foundation and everything. And so she actually designed the statue that actually was made by Westland, and so we can see the penguins there, and they're kind of they're following her progress to the North Pole. And so if anybody that's around my age probably remembers being in school and like going to like history class or something like that, and they always had like Good Morning America on, and her progress to the North Pole was broadcasted live on that. And so this design, she didn't create the design, but she did design it. She's very, very proud of the design, and it's called Follow Your Dreams, Lucy. So this statue is, like I say, it kind of represents her and her goals and what she's accomplished. And so I'm very proud to be connected with her and her foundation. And so one of the books, because obviously she designed that statue, she's involved in Volume 1, so that's going to be one of the charity books that are also going to go to an auction to help raise some money for another good charity. So again, I've got a couple of other charity books that I'm collecting a few signatures in. But like I said, the number one goal is the number one of a kind book is going to go to Canine Companions, and then secondly also the Bancroft Foundation. So like I said, keep your eye on the website and the HQ page, and so that kind of stuff will all be updated and going on. So then, I think that wraps up. The presentation. Is there did we get any questions or anything like that? If anybody has any questions that they want answered, throw them out there.
We have one, but Joel answered it.
Huh?
We have one question, but Joel answered it.
Oh, okay.
Someone asked if you'll ever have online versions of the books available.
Oh, yes, yeah. Actually, well, online versions not necessarily, but you can go to Barnes and Noble, and actually I'm not sure if Barnes and Noble has them, but I know Amazon has the Kindle versions. And so they're only like $10 actually. They're actually really, really inexpensive. It's not quite the hard copy, but whatnot. But it does give you another option. And if if you collect books on your Kindle, it's actually a great option. And so I believe both versions or both books are available as Kindle. Volume 2 might not be quite yet, but they are working on it. It's only been, Volume 2 has just recently been out, so they're still working on like the video and the press release for it. The press release isn't even out yet. So if you are interested in the Kindle versions for the two books, like I say, Volume 1 is available right now. Volume 2, if it's not quite yet, it will be shortly. So, was that it for questions?
So far, yeah.
Okay, if anybody has any other ones, throw them out there. Let me know and just stop me for a second, and I'll answer any questions that you have. The other thing is too, before we get going on the signing, is I'm going to have a little trivia contest out there for anybody who wants to participate. This year we got robbed of being able to watch the holiday specials on network TV. I mean, robbed, I think, is even an understatement. So what I put together is a little trivia contest, and everything I've got 10 questions. All the answers have been covered so far in the presentation. You can, maybe if you have the books, you know, they're available there too. But it's not rocket science. There's no super hard questions. There's not, you know, on page 146 of volume 1, what's the fifth word? It's nothing like that. So I'm going to have these questions up on my website here fairly soon, and the first person to email me with all of the answers is going to win a sealed set of the holiday specials. So you don't have to purchase and subscribe to Apple. You can watch them anytime you want on your own DVDs. And this set actually even comes with an inflatable chair, a kid's inflatable chair. So, you know, which will probably last about 4 seconds once they sit in it. But it's there anyway.
Where should they email me?
Thank you. So then once the questions get up on the website, like I said, the first person to answer all the questions correctly will win that set, and you can go to the contacts page of the website and send me an email directly from that, or my direct email is wjsnoopy@comcast.net. So either way, either wjsnoopy@comcast.net or going through the website contacts page. I'll get it either way, and so that'll be the timestamp. That'll be the race to see who can answer all the 10 questions first. As an example, the first question is, when did Peanuts on Parade begin? So nothing difficult. It was just a little fun thing to have out there, and hopefully you can win yourself some the holiday DVDs. Okay. Any other questions come in?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So how we're going to do this now? This portion of the presentation is going to be, if you are out there, if you're watching, please let us know. Just shoot us your name. My wife and daughter are waiting to hear from you and just letting us know who's out there. And then, so if you have an order that is ready to be fulfilled and get your book signed, let us know who's out there. I'll take you first. So then that way, if there's other people out there that they're watching, I'll get to those eventually as well. But if you're sticking around to get your book signed, I want to take care of yours first. So maybe there might not be anybody. I don't know.
We've got quite a few viewers yet, so.
What's that?
We have quite a few viewers,
Okay.
so somebody should be out there.
Okay. Yep. So just like I say, just let us know. Just give us your name. Say hi. Say
We have a
I'm here.
question.
Oh, question. Okay.
Kathy is asking, what is the website to order the books again?
Oh, again, that's WJS. So my initials is WJ, and then I always have WJS. So WJ Snoopy. So the website itself is WJShistory.com. So I'll make that's also on if you're watching on Facebook, you're a member of Facebook. My website is all over on different posts and things like that on the Peanuts on Parade HQ page as well. So if you haven't followed that, be sure to follow that, and then that's where, like I say, there will be tons of questions or tons of information coming out with like the charity books, and you know, more information as far as, you know, I always update as far when I get like the new videos, when, you know, anything like that comes out, when the press releases come out. I always kind of keep those up to date pretty quickly. Scott, thank you very much for your patronage. Scott S. is a Kickstarter backer. Been supporting this project for quite a while now, and I've also gotten to know him a little bit on the Buy Sell Trade group. So we're going to Scott. right, Scott, there's your book. We're going to set this off. Now, I mentioned Scott was a Kickstarter backer. When I first started looking for a publisher for these books, there were nowhere near the options that there are today as far as for publishing. The idea to help raise money for a book that, you know, when you can't just automatically get a contract from a big time publisher, and you know, if you really didn't get that, it was really tough. Jeannie Schulz had supported my efforts to publish this since day one, but she knew she really didn't have a lot that she could really, you know, help with as far as the support goes. She was there from day one, but to actually get it published was very difficult. And so this project really sat on the shelf for a very long time, probably close to 9 years, where I thought it was never going to happen. And then through one chain of events, one thing led to another, and by the time it was all done, I was actually able to get an offer from Covenant Books, and they're a hybrid publisher. So rather than, how do I explain this? Rather than just being able to like hand you a contract and say, here, publish this book for us, the big problem with that is that then they pretty much take all the rights. You hand over the manuscript to them and you're done as far as an author goes. And I poured so many hours, literally hundreds and possibly thousands of hours into these books, and trips to California back and forth, and driving my wife nuts, and staying up until 2-3 o'clock in the morning writing. I mean, it was just, there's no way in the world I was ever just going to hand over a manuscript to somebody and then have them say, you know, yeah, you're done now it belongs to us. I got that kind of a contract, but it was actually from a large publisher, but I refused it. I couldn't do it. And so fortunately with Covenant Books, you know, they were able to give me the freedom to the freedom and the ability to approve everything, step by step. I pretty much designed the book as it turned out, you know, as far as the layout goes. And so Kickstarter actually was able to allow me to work with Covenant Books, because I did have to pay for some, you know, for the process to get done. But I retained all the rights, all the information. Everything is still mine. And so the Kickstarter backers allow me to reach that level and get this done. And like I said, I mean, it sat on the shelf for about 9 years before all that kind of got going again, and I was able to work with Kickstarter and get the support. There's, if you're a Kickstarter backer out there, I've given you lots of updates as far as how things have been moving along with this process. But again, just person to person, I thank you very much for everything that you've done. So, Lorraine, I got your book here.
She also wanted to say that she enjoyed the backstory and looked forward to seeing Volume 2, and great ideas for Beagle Fest and charities.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I mean, that really is the charity thing, and for CCI is just, to me, it was such a no-brainer. It obviously is a charity that means a lot to Jeannie Schulz. Without her support, I would have never reached this level. I would have never gotten these things done. She did more for me than what I'll get into, but way more than she even understands, even, because she's just that type of person. She's a very giving, very generous person. And same with Craig. I mean, he Craig was very supportive as well. But like I said, the level of support that I got from Jeannie Schulz was second to none. And there's been no way I would have been able to get this thing done without the family support. Any other questions at all?
We have a comment. You should bring the exhibition to Mexico.
To Mexico, that we can, that we'll get for statues involved. Just, I can't get into details or whatever, but believe me, it's going to be a great event. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can just push everything back one more year, and then, like I say, it's already been announced that the big plan is to have it done in Santa Rosa in 2022.
Nancy from Santa Rosa says hi.
Nancy.
Or
Nancy. that's why I asked. Wasn't it? Great to hear from you, Nancy. Hope everything is going great for you guys. For the rest of you, well, Brian and Nancy Roberts, they're fantastic friends. They're featured in Volume 2. They created several statues actually, and they've been fantastic friends. They were actually helped out with the photocopies that I gave. The very first original copies of these books were given to the museum for their archives, and so all I did was I put together photo albums that has the pictures, and then on the corresponding page was a top loader with the information about each of the statues that you saw on the corresponding page. And so that was really the very first thing that we ever did for for these books. When I gave them to the museum, it was just meant to be as a gift for their archive department. And it really wasn't until like I said, that was the original intent, was just to give them information for their archive department. And it really wasn't until I started getting into making these phone calls for people and asking them about their information, about their statues, and trying to get that information and those little nuggets and just those little cool bits of information about their statues. And then that's when people started asking me, are you going to publish this? What are you going to do with this? And my first thought was, no, I'm not going to publish this. I'm not a writer. It's just meant to be a gift for the museum. And that's when they started, encouraging me to get the information out there a little bit more. And quite honestly, I didn't know how big the information was even going to be in demand. I just assumed it was going to be something that was cool, it was great, for what it was, but how big of a demand was there going to be? And that's when I brought the idea to Jeannie Schulz, and she was the one that that said, yeah, if you want to pursue this as a project, go ahead. But that really wasn't the intent. And so when the museum received their copies of the original photographs and all that, they didn't want the photographs themselves to be out in public and have people paging through everything and destroying the photographs. So they had volunteers, which turned out to be good friends of ours, Brian and Nancy Roberts, and also the artists a couple of artists out there. They were actually the ones who were the first people to photocopy all the pages and put those in separate binders, and then that's what was on public display at the museum for several years. And so that's always been one of our connections, and so we always make sure we meet up with them afterwards. Okay.
That's them.
So, Brian and Nancy, I will sign yours, and then I think we'll wrap this up. So if anybody else has any questions. And nothing else out there?
Jim.
Jim is asking
I-
where. Oh, go ahead.
I should probably do this question.
Oh yeah.
Where's the cow? Shouldn't there be a cow?
Shouldn't there be a cow? Another inside joke. But no, there's no cow. We'll just leave it at that.
Joel said, "Thank you for your work in these books, William. Paging through mine brings back lots of memories from the paint-offs and other related events."
That was who?
Joel.
Oh, okay. So is Bonnie on, or is this just the next one?
That's just the next
Okay.
one. I haven't seen anybody since Nancy.
Okay. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll just wrap this up then. Thank you everybody for attending the book release. Obviously this isn't quite the way that I expected it to happen, but in a way it worked out really, really well, because this gives, I think, a larger amount of people the ability to participate, and that means the world to me. It really, really does. So again, don't forget about going to the website, wjshistory.com, for the trivia questions and win yourself the DVD set. If you haven't already, make sure you follow the page, Peanuts on Parade HQ, on Facebook, and that will give you the updates on the charity books. And believe me, I mean, any bit of information that I think is cool about the way these are going to turn out, I'll be posting that information. I've already got probably 15 to 20 signatures in the book for Canine Companions. I think about a dozen or so for the one in that's going to go to Anne Bancroft. And so I'm just going to keep collecting these signatures in there, and when a charity comes up that I think is going to be that would appreciate these, and that would bring in some extra money, that's who they're going to go to. So right now I've got 4 copies going of each volume, and only 2 are designated for a specific charity. So hopefully another 2 more will pop up, and if nothing else, maybe it'll just be a smaller. It won't be quite the one of a kind for CCI, but even if it has maybe another dozen or so signatures in each one, maybe I'll just auction those off for CCI as well. Not really sure exactly how it'll go yet, but all that information will be out there in all the social media outlets, and I try to keep everything as up to date as possible. But I mostly stick with the Peanuts on Parade HQ page. So again, thank you very, very much for attending. Oh, what?
I have one
What?
more. I'd like to shout out to Jim and say thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
We love you too.
He said,
And we'll try to meet up in St. Cloud and find some cows.
Jim posted in all caps, "We love Melissa."
Oh, okay. Well, of course you do. I mean, it's my wife. I mean, how can you not love her? I mean, come on.
But no Lone Star.
Okay, enough inside jokes here. Although there might not be a lot of people left by this time, but we're done with the inside jokes.
We still got 17 viewers.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well.
The inside joke relating to the cow is he's dressed up as a cow for Chick-fil-A when I used to work there.
If you're friends with me on Facebook, I have several photos. Yes, when Liz was a employee at Chick-fil-A, I won't get into how I got wrapped up into it, but I somehow became the mascot and the cow in the cow suit. So I was able to play in the Minnesota Twins TC mascot softball game before a Twins game last year, and a couple other events down in Target Field. I've been a season ticket holder for the Twins for 22 years, so that was such a cool thing for me to do. We had other events too. We had a Halloween event and things like that was for kids. It's been a blast. I did a couple things down at the restaurant. So it's been kind of an inside joke for a lot of people that they give me a hard time about being the cow. But I guess unfortunately, Liz doesn't work for Chick-fil-A anymore, so my days as the cow is done. But it was a great time. So that's kind of where that went. But
yeah.
okay.
It's just been comments from Jim now, left and right.
Yeah, I'm sure. But
up to 21 viewers now.
As long as we're on it, Jim, thank you very, very much for, I'm not sure exactly how things turned out on your end, but for having the watch party on the Buy Sell Trade group. That group is phenomenal. If you're out there and you're not part of that group, if you collect, if you like collectibles, if you just like looking at collectibles, whatever it is, go to the Snoopy Collectors Buy Sell Trade group on Facebook and sign up for it. The amount of people in that group that are extremely nice, they're helpful, they're informative. Literally, the biggest collectors in the world are on that page. The pretty much any author that has had collector's guides or anything like that, I mean, they're all over the place in that group, and they've been made a lot of friends in that group. So it's been really, really nice. So that's where we're going with Jim. He's the administrator of the group, and let's just say he likes to give me crap. So, but he's willing to take it too. So that's cool. So again, I think we're up here and we're done. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your supports. Just anything that any kind of support, encouragements, the kind words and the experiences that I've been able to accumulate through this process and from the day that I started writing these has been nothing that anybody could ever even dream of. So it's just been fantastic. So hopefully, if you're in the Twin Cities area or Santa Rosa area, I will be in both areas. Hopefully, when things start opening up, getting some book signings in public spaces done fairly soon. Hopefully, I've been in contact with the museum about going out there again, in the shop. Like I said, hopefully things around the Twin Cities. If you're local, hopefully we can get into some bookstores and doing some book signings and stuff there as well too. So
once things open up, you can start putting upcoming events on your page.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the website and the Peanuts on Parade HQ page, those will always get updated as far as where I might be at, where book signings might be done, things like that. I've been in talks with some Barnes and Nobles to hopefully even if it's not a public event, at least get some books in the store and get a bunch signed, and then they can have them in the store for if it's available. But again, wherever you are, you can always order on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the Kindle versions. They're all out there, and of course, my page as well. If you want to get other copies signed. Whether it's, if it's not today, whenever you place an order, I'll always be happy to sign a copy for you. So, thanks again for everything. We'll tune off now and have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.